Hi there, thank you so much for having us here today. So my name's Laura and I'm one of the sisters on critical care, specialising in patient experience. I'll be talking to you today about our patient diaries and following patients' journeys through critical care. I'd like to introduce the two main drivers behind the project. So today we've got Kim Vigus, one of our senior staff nurses, here today, who is here to answer all your questions, and also Katie Stewart, who unfortunately couldn't be here, was one of the main people behind this project. So getting right into it. So next slide, please. So what inspired us to undertake this project and how did we go about implementing our diaries on the unit? We want to see how our diaries are used in practice on critical care and how our diaries have impacted on our patients since they've been discharged. So following up. So that's what we'll talk through today. So inspiration. There's a huge amount of research available that documenting a patient's journey in the form of a diary has a massive positive impact on patient experience in critical care, especially when they've been discharged from critical care. So I want to just paint a little picture. So imagine you're a patient on critical care. You start off, you were intubated and ventilated and vaguely remember coming in and out of consciousness. You wake up and you have no idea of time and place. You don't recognise anyone around you. You're scared, disorientated, and people keep telling you you're safe. However, do my family know that I'm here? I've been asleep for over a week and I find out that Boris has increased the national insurance. Everyone's in masks and with glasses on and they all look the same in blue scrubs. And people keep putting medications into me and all I want to do is see my family and see my dog. So critical care is such a scary place. So why should we have patient diaries? So it reduces psychological distress in both patients and relatives. This is a place where patients and families can turn to after their experiences. It promotes patient memory, so it helps fill in those memory gaps, as I've talked about before. It helps patients know the difference between reality and hallucinations and delusions, which is often quite a nasty side effect of the drugs. It's a place that families can relay concern and love throughout the time that their relative has had their critical illness. And it's also a key place that we can communicate between nurses and patients. It's a place we can tell the patient how we feel, whether we've worked our socks off to get them ready to go for an MRI, or we're happy that they're getting better. In 2017, we had a CQC visit which recommended that we should implement patient diaries. So this is what Kim went about doing. Next slide, please. So to become compliant, we started with a blank notebook, which we stuck in the pages which were relevant. However, we didn't just want to be compliant. We wanted to go one step further and make these diaries exceptional. A diary group was formed. However, it was difficult to move forward from there, and we knew the diaries weren't good enough. And this was reinforced by the CQC returning and stating that our diaries were inconsistent and identified a need for change. Once Katie came into her secondment as a sister in patient experience, her first step was to audit our diaries. And this identified we weren't doing well and motivated her for a need for change. She used her time when completing her critical care modules to focus on these diaries to make them more informative and user-friendly. And Katie and Kim worked together to come up with this improved diary involving patients, families, and the team in their project to create the perfect product. What an excellent example of transformational leadership. However, to get it published, they needed funding to achieve the final product. Next slide, please. So the unit went absolutely above and beyond, as you can see in the photo there. It all started with the opportunity to participate in the Royal Cornwall's charity dance event, Come Dance With Us. This led to fundraising events such as a 24-hour cyclothon, cake sales, plant sales, and in the end they raised over £7,000 for psychological recovery in intensive care, and part of that money they used to produce the new diaries. This just shows how committed and motivated Kim and Katie were by the invaluable effect this project would have on our patients. So drum roll please, what does the final product look like? So This is what our new diary looks like. It not only looks so much better, but it contains valuable information for patients and their families. This diary was designed to give a more structured approach to the process and is extremely visual with a glossary which explains all the big words that you may come across within ITU. There's an About Me section, which has become invaluable throughout COVID. And when you look at the actual days, it's a lot more structured so that the valuable information doesn't get missed. For example, weather, world news, visitors sections, names of people looking after you, and setting goals and trying to achieve them day on day, having that positive mindset. But that's enough of me talking. Let's see them in action. So next slide, please. If you don't mind playing the video, that would be fantastic. So this particular patient, as you can see, our nurses have been writing in every day about what they've been getting up to. And this is the chap that actually sat on the edge of the bed today. So I'm going to put a little entry in for today. Amazing, amazing. Yeah, that's efficient. Our video ITU team, smile. Do you mind if I ask what you're doing?
No, it's okay. We do a diary of what has happened to our patients every day, because when they wake up, if they wish to, they can go through all the gaps in memory they are going to have. And sometimes they've got some nightmare associated to it. And when they go through all these notes, sometimes that makes sense and they can relate what has happened to them when they were partially sedated with their nightmares, and it helps a lot in the recovery process.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Kim, one of our senior staff nurses, and myself kind of put this into fruition because lots of patients from follow-up clinics were getting quite severe sort of blanks in their memories and getting quite nasty sort of delirium, hallucinatory thoughts. So together we've devised a new sort of design of patient diary. If you wanted to have a look, but basically inside, just to sort of help with things, we've really gone into detail about the glossary of what common things are on ITU. Really visual for them to actually see what these things are. And we've also thought it was really important to get to know the patient. Actually, kind of we just see them here, but actually get a bit of a background on them. So we've got a getting to know you area, and talks about all their kind of what their occupation is, what their hobbies are, what time they like to wake up, what time they like to go to bed. So we get a real sort of great background of the patient. And it's just an informative journal, really, for the patient to keep throughout their stay and then their hospital stay. And so they can go home, and it's really just, yeah, it's great. It's really good informative information for them all, really. And at the back, we've got some kind of further support for patients and their families, but kind of mainly to signpost family and carers to amazing resources to help them kind of through their family's critical care journey. Yeah, very proud of it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, as you can see, that was the journey throughout COVID as well, from the first spike to up to now. So going back to the presentation, I also just wanted to show an example of a diary entry that I completed for a patient who'd been on the unit for over a month. Understandably, she was really low in mood, so on this particular day, I decided to try everything to make her feel better. She was an extremely glamorous lady, and it meant the world to her to wear her own clothes and her perfume. We did her hair, we got her in her own pyjamas, which was extremely hard when you're connected to a kidney machine and ventilator. And we worked with the physio team to sit out in the chair. Her daughter visited for an hour and was in tears to see her mum look almost normal. We attached the speaking valve and they were able to talk to each other. Now, I don't want you to think that this is all that we do on critical care. However, this lady actually passed away a week later, and this day would have not only meant the world to the patient, but also to her daughter. We have Polaroid cameras, which are there specifically to capture these special moments. And I hope that the family will have possession of this diary and look back at one of the last days and really felt that we looked after her mum the best that we could. Next slide, please. So following up, these diaries have become invaluable in our follow-up clinics. Will English, one of our consultants, and Sarah Bean, one of our research nurses, use these diaries in their clinics to help patients understand and process their experiences in critical care. They can pinpoint what triggers certain hallucinations or flashbacks and go through memory gaps that they may have. Above is some of the feedback that we've received from patients. 99% of our feedback is positive. However, you might have already observed that there's a bit of constructive feedback on this slide. I think it's really important to include this. So the patient says, personally, I feel not enough information was there. I didn't want people to tell me all the time how I was doing. This feedback reminds us that every patient is an individual and should be involved in the writing of their diary. This may not always be possible, but whenever we can, discuss with the patient about the diary, whether it was a good or bad day and what they would like to remember. And when this isn't possible, involving families in the writing of their diaries. Next slide, please. So what's the plan from here? So when implementing a change or project, we need to continually adapt to ensure that our diaries are used to the best of their ability. It's an extremely valuable resource and a platform in which we can reach out to our patients and families. We've added the patient gateway into our diaries, which is a valuable resource which contains videos which explain some of the core questions that come out of our follow-up clinics. We've also added care opinion to make it easy for families and patients to give feedback. And lastly, we've looked into ways we can involve families in their diaries while they have limited visiting time in COVID. So we've launched an online visitors pack which contains the About Me section. So families can fill this in at their leisure at home and send it in via a relative's email. And we've made it possible for families to also send in their diary entries so that they can be involved in the process from afar. This project has been presented to our trust board and is now as part of a steering group to make plans to see how this project of patient diaries can be helped to use in other areas across the trust. I hope that our success snowballs and allows others to benefit, like our patients have on critical care.